Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
What's up, y'all? So we are at the first episode of what we're calling the Manager's Corner. I'm Ben Willis, co-founder, operator of this beautiful place, Indie Pop. We're at Indie Pop headquarters, and we're sitting with a really good friend of mine, Nolan Smith, manager extraordinaire. We managed Super Duper Kyle together. We've had a lot of experiences, good, bad, in between, amazing things. Let's talk about, because I know this story, but where are you from? How'd you get into music management? Those types of vibes.
Right. Originally from Ventura, California, you know that, up the road a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now I'm here in Los Angeles, Culver City to be exact. But yeah, I've been working with Kyle since about 2010, and then with you guys since about 2012, 13, mm-hmm. And yeah, it's awesome. Somehow we manage.
Somehow we manage. So what made you want to get into music management? I know your story with doing some TMing and stuff like that, which I think led you to Kyle, but I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because I realized that it's not the typical route. Kid grows up aspiring, wants to be a music manager. Most people want to be artists or massive entertainers or whatever. Yeah. But I think once I turned a corner on my hoop dreams.
You could dunk a basketball though, right?
In my heyday, yeah, when I was about 21. Not in game, in a layup line, nobody around.
That's huge. That's a massive job.
Might travel going into it, but I could get one in there. Once I think I was gonna shift gears from playing basketball, hip-hop and basketball have always been so synonymous. So the time I was in second or third grade, I was reading Slam magazine and listening to DMX tapes, and just I've always just been super passionate about rap music and hip hop music, and so I think that it was kind of a no-brainer. And when I was in college, I started really falling in love with just underground rap music.
Who's your favorite rapper? Back then in the underground scene.
Man, in 2009, let's just even go back. Between 2007 and 2008, I discovered this group called Pac Div out of LA, and they were a trio and just very, very dope. I just related to them. They were all former basketball players. They just had this super cool West Coast style, but not gangster rap, and they were lyrical. The production was unique. It kind of it was really a genre and a sound that spoke to me, and literally they became my favorite group, and I was man, I just wanted to help them. I felt like I kind of understood them, and I felt like I could maybe provide value, And then when I started looking more into the industry and finding out what different roles people were playing, I kind of felt like I could fit into that manager role, where it's you're still very creative, but you're also administrative and kind of help get projects done and see projects through. And so I kind of felt that I fit into that role. And then shortly after that, in around 2009, I discovered Asher Roth online, and I kind of watched his ascent, and pretty quickly through Twitter and MySpace at the time, I discovered Scooter Braun, and I was oh, this guy is doing what I want to do, you know? Scooter kind of was he was somehow, he was very behind the scenes, but somehow you still knew his name, and he just did a good job of breaking Asher as an artist. And so I remember becoming a fan of Scooter. There's actually I think I have a screenshot of it somewhere, but I sent Scooter Braun a MySpace message in 2008, and this is before Justin Bieber, and I was just teach me the way or something, ... Yeah, and he said, LOL, what? ? And then I just was I didn't know, I was damn, that was creepy. That was what? It was weird. I didn't even know what to do. But yeah, it's funny. And then him and I even exchanged a couple MySpace messages, but I just was talking about how I was in LA on the West Coast, and that I saw the vision for what he was doing with his artists and how he was breaking stuff. And I remember hearing early Bieber demos and seeing some of the early Bieber YouTube videos right around the time he signed Bieber, before I think Bieber might even have had a major label record deal, just some of Bieber's covers, and being oh, this kid's about to be massive, I get it. And then so that group Pac Div, I ended up interning for them. They were like so gracious enough to bring me on tour with them.
Amazing.
And so we toured with Mac Miller on his like first big nationwide tour. We toured with Pharrell and NERD. And so I got to kind of see America that way, which was like such a blessing. And I think that I remember being out on the road, being so inspired by that and being like, man, I needed to find an act to manage, you know, and Kyle and I had been friends, and I came home and we kind of like had the same vision, and we were like, let's go get it. Let's figure out what we need to do.
Yeah, you know, I had this sort of like similar story. When I first started in the music business, I was a radio promoter, and I interned for a guy named Big Phil. And Big Phil was huge. He was like this, and he worked in an office that was probably this big. And I walk in his office, and he's like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm here to get some like promo vinyl because I'm a DJ. I DJ at blah blah blah." And he's like, "You want an internship?" And I was like, "All right, cool." I was like, "To do what?" And he's like, "Be a radio promoter." And I was like, "What's a radio promoter?" And he's like, "So you know when you hear a record on the radio 100 times a day, that's my job." So his client at the time was Craig Mack on his second album, and I got 2 weeks into my internship, I was on the road with Diddy, Biggie, KRS-One, and the Lox, and it was like an amazing way to see America through that lens, through the lens of like my favorite stars, you know what I'm saying?
So epic.
And I think that when I was on the road, I learned like a lot of lessons. I learned how to communicate with people. I learned how to not communicate with people, the best way to do it. What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned jumping into the music business and then taking what you learned with Pac Div and then transferring that over into your career as like a proper manager with Kyle?
I think some of the lessons that stick out that are like, that cut through like the most are the ones when you like see things and you learn what not to do.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was, I think that being the outside looking in and kind of just being the intern and just trying to be fully of service and just available, and these guys had their business and they were running it how they were running it, and being 22 and honestly not really knowing shit and like, but probably thinking I did and whatever. Anyways, but like there was just a lot of things where I was just like, wow, like certain nuances that I was kind of seeing to be detrimental to just the group or whatever, but not really being in a position to like actually help. It's like kind of debilitating. So I think that sometimes you grab that information and you're like, man, when I have a know opportunity, I want to make sure that I do this differently or whatever. So learning what not to do out on the road. And I mean, there's just been so many lessons. Every day it's a new one, right? It's like it's every day it's a new one. So I think that just kind of trying to keep that open mind, open heart, and you know, once you learn the lesson, making sure you don't continue to make the same mistake if it was a mistake or whatever. But our role about kind of trying to put the right groups together, the right teams together, like I just saw so many parallels with like playing sports, and there's so much psychology involved, there's so many moving pieces involved that it's definitely like always changing, always difficult. Like it doesn't matter like what the size of the artist that you're managing or the, you know, it's like it's challenging at every level, I think. And so I think I don't know if that'll ever change.
I feel like for me, you know, the music business, I tell people all the time, it's like common sense. Right? Like, you know, you really can feel a situation if you're intuitive and in touch with what's going on around you, what's going on with your client, what's going on with the people that are around your client. You can feel what the right thing is to do. And not everyone has that intuition, but I think it's like common sense, man, because you're dealing with people all the time. So you know if a motherfucker's grumpy or not, then you know to chill. You know, like if you got a call time at 8 a.m., be there at 7:45. Right. It's like common sense stuff. Right. But people make it super complicated.
Right.
You know
right. Yeah. And it's funny because there's like, especially like with like other managers that are like I consider to be mentors, and even like people like you, we've had so many of these conversations before too, where it's like everything in music management is really a judgment call. There's no right or wrong answer. So it's like if you're a young manager and you're like, man, if Nolan would just be my mentor or Ben would just be my mentor, like I would be able to like navigate this so much better. But the honest to God answer is that it's really just judgment calls. So kind of like working through that yourself and helping your artists make judgment calls. And then also like, there's just not really a right or wrong answer all the time, and there's not one answer for everything. Like I remember like I've done this so many times in my career where I've like called a mentor of mine and asked him something, and then they kind of advise you through it, but really it's like you're coming to the conclusion that you probably could have came to on your own. It's like
you just support.
Right. It's a little
because at this level that we're at, it's all high stakes, and you want to make the best decision.
Right.
Ultimately, I think letting your client make the ultimate decision is what we're here to service them and allow them to become the best they can be. But sometimes that's hard, but sometimes you do gotta let them go down that road and crash and burn and be there for them and help pick it up. And, you know what I mean?
Right. That's
but not crash and burn so hard.
Right. That's honestly something that I've learned to be honest the hard way over the last few years. Really, is just like, you know, with Kyle specifically, just like as he's like, you know, him and I have been like joined at the hip since I was 22 and he was like 17. So like, kind of like through his whole maturation process, it's like there were so many things early on where I was like so bullish about, oh, it needs to be like this and look like this and feel like this, when it's like it's his thing and I need to like allow him the space and really just be of service in helping him make the best decision for him. You know what I mean? I think caring a lot is charming, so 100%. It's not the worst way to be a manager, awesome. But at some point it's like you got to kind of step aside and really play that co-pilot role for your client, you know. But
when they grow up, you got to allow them to grow up and not smother them and allow them to become adults. Like, you know, my history with our company and having a lot of artists that we sign when they're 18, 19, 20 years old is watching them go from really wanting the advisor role, but then coming with their own ideas and then wanting to make their own decisions. I already know that's 10 steps ahead, that's about to be a disaster, but they're growing up as adults, so they do have to make that decision. You just have to be there to support them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, as much as possible. And and so I think that is a really hard process, but you just got to rock with it.
Right.
So there's a thing, you know what I mean, we obviously follow each other on Instagram. Follow me, Instagram, Ben Willis. Also follow me on TikTok, Ben Willis _420, you know what I'm saying? But like, you're developing this concept or this idea called Student of the Game. Can you like, just tell, I literally know you for 10 years. I don't even know what that is. So I hella want to know what's up with Student of the Game, because it's tight.
Thank you. Yeah, so honestly, it was kind of born out of like, wanting to have like my own little creative endeavor, a thing where I can just like, that's like really like my thing, and I can just like do nothing with it or try to take over the world. You know what I mean? So I like designing merch, so I'm always having merch ideas that I'm gonna like put out through that. It's kind of my exploration and all just like self-development stuff that I'm like, I like to read like self-development books nonstop. So I'm self-help. Yeah, right.
I love self-help too.
I actually saw a self-help book the other day that says I'm addicted to self-help, and I was like, damn, should I read that?
Of course you should read it. It sounds amazing. You might be like, damn, maybe I'm addicted to it.
Right. So yeah. So honestly, it's just a platform for me to like share ideas, writing, blogging, podcasting, books, videos. It's just in the little infancy, so I've kind of just been like teasing it for the past like year or so. So I'm trying to like find some time to kind of flesh that out more and just have that be like a fun little side project. Yeah. Similar to what you guys got going on over here, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks.
So if you do follow me on Instagram, you see I always hashtag big drops only.
Right.
So basically what a big drop is, like something that happened that's phenomenal or massive to you. We've had some massive drops, huge drops. What do you think is your biggest drop, whether it's in life or whether it's in music? What do you think is the biggest drop for you?
Biggest drop?
Yeah.
It's got to be like just kind of Kyle putting his foot through the door with like the I Spy moment.
I mean, that was a huge drop.
Huge drop. Big drop.
Big drops only.
Big drops only. I wish that they were all big drops, but some of them are not so big of drops. I could tell you about a lot of almost big drops. No,
just a big drop.
Just a big drop. No, yeah. So that I Spy, which we were side by side through that whole thing, and
it was amazing.
I think it was really exciting. It was like the culmination of this like 6-year journey of like kind of like grinding to like maybe have that happen,
Yeah.
and then it happened in like the most like picture perfect fairy tale way it could ever happen. And I feel like, honestly, even when I think back about it, I'm just like, was so unique how that went down, and like
right
it
on
just
time.
doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for everybody like that, and that's something that I have to be like super aware of. And I feel so blessed and so lucky, and you know, but at the same time, I think it was always kind of part of the plan. So it's like I don't want to completely like take that out of the equation, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that the way it completely changed the landscape for us, really in every stretch of like in every facet, right? But I think like looking back on it, it's also like now there's other mountains to climb too.
Well,
You know what I mean? It's like
that was the big drop to get us to the massive drops.
right.
We might need to start a hashtag massive drops only in like a year.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be, then we would have to change the sign, but that's all.
It has to be bigger than a big drop,
because we do
which is
really
like
big drops. All right, so now we're gonna do what's called a lightning round. Super basic questions. You just gotta answer them super fast, okay?
okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, Spotify or Apple Music?
Spotify.
Okay, In-N-Out or McDonald's?
In-N-Out.
Favorite basketball team?
Lakers.
Favorite athlete?
Kobe Bryant.
Favorite movie?
Jerry Maguire.
Favorite artist, dead or alive?
Tupac.
And if you could manage any artist in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Chris Brown.
Whoa.
Chris
Chris Brown's a legend. I wish I could dance like Chris Brown, man. God, man.
You kind of can.
I mean, I got the moonwalk, the side moonwalk, and the front moonwalk super down. I just like, he's so good, man.
Right.
All right, tight. Well, yo, man, thank you for coming on the show, on our segment, on our thing. It was amazing.
Anytime, dude.
And
awesome. Thanks for having me. First guest, dude.
Yeah,
Dang.
Now we need to go back
awesome.
to work and create some more big drops.
Right.
You know what I'm
We got to like. Our clients need to not know that we were doing this during
saying? Or we
work
might get
hours.
fired. Okay. Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Peace.